Paris, 1820. The city was a bustling hub of activity, a place where the old world met the new, and where fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye. A chill hung in the air, clinging to the cobblestone streets and the grand houses lining them. The misty mornings added an air of mystery to the already enigmatic city, where secrets lurked in every shadow and whispers of intrigue filled the air. One such house belonged to Julian Tesson, a wealthy banker with a reputation for shrewd deals and an even colder demeanor. Tesson was known for his sharp mind and ruthless business tactics, which had earned him both respect and fear among his peers. One morning, Tesson vanished. He was gone, as if the morning mist had swallowed him whole. His breakfast lay untouched, the steam from his coffee still faintly rising, a silent testament to his sudden and inexplicable disappearance. His morning newspaper rested on his chair, still folded. It was as if time had stopped in that moment, leaving behind only the eerie stillness of an abandoned routine. The staff was in an uproar. Panic and confusion spread like wildfire through the household, as servants and maids scurried about, their faces etched with worry and fear. Whispers of foul play filled the grand halls. The once serene and orderly home was now a hive of speculation and dread, with every creak and shadow adding to the growing sense of unease. Tesson's family, fearing the worst, contacted the authorities. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide with fear, as they clung to the hope that the police might provide some answers. The police arrived, their faces grim. They moved with a sense of urgency, aware that every passing moment could mean the difference between life and death. They searched high and low, they questioned everyone. No detail was too small, no clue too insignificant, as they pieced together the puzzle of Tesson's disappearance. Yet, they found no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, no ransom demands. It was as if Tesson had simply vanished into thin air. Days turned into weeks. The mystery deepened, and with it, the sense of dread that gripped the household. The newspapers were filled with speculation. Had Tesson been kidnapped? Murdered? Theories abounded, each more sensational than the last, as the public's fascination with the case grew. Or had he simply chosen to disappear, taking his secrets with him? The police were baffled. Every lead they followed seemed to end in a dead end, every clue only deepening the enigma. The case seemed impossible to crack. Hope began to dwindle. The once confident investigators now wore expressions of frustration and defeat as the trail grew colder with each passing day. Then, someone suggested a name, whispered with a mix of fear and admiration. It was a name that carried with it a reputation for solving the unsolvable, for uncovering the truth no matter how deeply it was buried. It was the name of a man who had risen from the gutters of Paris to become its most unlikely savior. A man whose methods were as unorthodox as they were effective, and whose past was as shadowy as the mysteries he sought to unravel. It was the name of Eugene Francois Vidocq. A former criminal turned detective, Vidocq had a unique understanding of the criminal mind and a relentless drive to bring justice to those who thought themselves untouchable. The stage was set for a confrontation between the city's most enigmatic banker and its most notorious detective. Eugene Vidocq was no ordinary detective. His name echoed through the streets of Paris, not just as a lawman, but as a legend. A former criminal himself, he had spent years navigating the Parisian underworld. He knew its dark alleys, its hidden corners, and the faces that lurked in the shadows. His life story was a tapestry of daring escapes, audacious cons, and a surprising redemption. Vidocq's early years were marked by a series of bold heists and clever deceptions that earned him both infamy and respect among the criminal elite. He knew the city's underbelly like the back of his hand. Every street, every hidden passage, every secret meeting place was etched in his memory. He understood the language of criminals, the whispers in the shadows, the unspoken codes that governed their world. This knowledge was his greatest weapon, allowing him to anticipate their moves and outsmart them at every turn. Vidocq had turned his back on his criminal past. He had made a choice to use his skills for good, to bring justice to those who had been wronged. He now led the Sûreté Nationale, a new breed of law enforcement agency. This was not just any police force, it was a revolutionary concept in crime fighting. His team, the Brigade de la Sûreté, was composed of former convicts like himself. These were men and women who had once walked the same dark paths as the criminals they now pursued. These men and women possessed a unique understanding of the criminal mind. They knew the tricks, the lies, the subtle signs that others might miss. They could see through deception and were not afraid to get their hands dirty. Their past had hardened them, made them resilient and resourceful. Vidocq listened intently as Tesson's family recounted the details. Every word, every gesture was a clue to him. He observed their reactions, their subtle tells, their unspoken anxieties. He could sense the fear, the uncertainty that lingered in their voices. He examined the banker's belongings, his study, his daily routine. Each item, each habit was a piece of the puzzle. Vidocq wasn't interested in the obvious. He knew that the truth often lay hidden beneath layers of deception. He sought the hidden, the overlooked, the seemingly insignificant detail that held the key to the truth. The disappearance intrigued him. It was a challenge, a mystery that demanded his full attention. It was too clean, too precise. There were no signs of struggle, no obvious clues left behind. It reeked of cunning, of meticulous planning. Whoever was behind this had thought of everything, covered every track. Vidocq suspected this was no ordinary crime. This was the work of a mastermind, someone who knew how to manipulate and deceive. This was the work of someone who knew how to vanish without a trace, someone like him. Vidocq felt a strange kinship with the perpetrator, a recognition of a kindred spirit. He knew that to catch this criminal, he would have to think like one, to delve into the darkest corners of his own past. Vidocq began his investigation by retracing Tesson's last known steps. He visited the bank, he spoke to Tesson's colleagues, he examined the ledgers, looking for irregularities, he scoured the banker's home, searching for clues. He paid particular attention to Tesson's study. It was a room of secrets, filled with locked drawers and hidden compartments. He discovered that Tesson had been living a double life. Beneath his veneer of respectability, the banker was entangled in a web of risky investments and shady dealings. He had made powerful enemies, enemies who might want him silenced. Vidocq and his agents fanned out across Paris. They questioned informants, searched for witnesses, and followed every lead, no matter how tenuous. They explored the city's gambling dens and back alleys, seeking any whisper of the missing banker. The investigation was painstaking and frustrating. Days turned into weeks. The trail seemed to have gone cold. Just when all hope seemed lost, Vidocq noticed something peculiar. It was a small detail, easily overlooked. It was a footprint, but not just any footprint. This one was made with a specific type of boot, a boot worn only by the city's most skilled locksmiths. The footprint was a tantalizing clue. It was unlike any other, with a distinct pattern that seemed almost deliberate, as if left there to be found. The dirt path and cobblestone street bore the same mark, suggesting a trail that was meant to be followed. It suggested that Tesson's disappearance was not a simple case of kidnapping or murder. The streets of 19th century Paris were filled with shadows and secrets, and this footprint hinted at a deeper, more intricate plot. The alleyways whispered of hidden agendas and unseen hands pulling the strings. It implied a level of planning and expertise that pointed towards a professional, someone who knew the city intimately, who could navigate its labyrinthine streets and alleys with ease. The map of Paris, marked with key locations, suggested a network of operatives working in concert. But who would have the skill and the motive to make a man like Tesson vanish? Tesson was a prominent banker, well-respected and seemingly untouchable. Yet, someone had managed to orchestrate his disappearance with precision. The detective, with his magnifying glass, pondered the possibilities, each more complex than the last. Vidocq's investigation led him to a secret society of locksmiths known as the Order of the Key. This clandestine group operated in the shadows, their skills in high demand by those who needed to unlock the most secure of secrets. The dimly lit room where they met was filled with whispers and coded messages. This clandestine group possessed skills passed down through generations. They were masters of their craft, able to forge keys and pick locks with unparalleled expertise. The workshop was a hive of activity, with blacksmiths and locksmiths working in unison, their hands moving with practiced precision. They could open any lock, crack any safe, and disappear without a trace. The intricate mechanisms of the locks they worked on were like puzzles to them, each one a challenge to be conquered. The safe, once thought impenetrable, yielded to their skill, its secrets laid bare. But were they involved in Tesson's disappearance? And if so, why? The detective examined the clues laid out before him, each one a piece of a larger puzzle. The men in 19th century attire, deep in discussion, seemed to hold the answers, but their motives remained unclear. Vidocq suspected that Tesson's disappearance was staged. The crime scene, meticulously arranged, seemed too perfect, too clean. Vidocq, with his notes in hand, pondered the possibility that Tesson had orchestrated his own vanishing act. He believed that the banker was still alive. The image of the banker walking away, seemingly carefree, contrasted sharply with the hidden figure lurking in the shadows. It was as if Tesson had slipped into the night, leaving behind a trail of deception. But why would a wealthy and powerful man choose to vanish? Tesson had everything: wealth, power, influence. What could drive him to abandon it all? The man in the luxurious office, lost in thought, seemed to be grappling with a decision that weighed heavily on his mind. What was he hiding from? The detective, sifting through papers, uncovered hints of a hidden life. The vault, filled with documents, suggested secrets that Tesson had gone to great lengths to conceal. He delved deeper into Tesson's financial dealings, uncovering a trail of deceit, embezzlement, and treachery. The old financial documents painted a picture of a man who had manipulated the system for his own gain. The paper trail led the detective through a labyrinth of lies and betrayal. The more Vidocq learned, the more convinced he became that Tesson was not a victim. Each new clue reinforced the idea that Tesson had orchestrated his own disappearance. The montage of discoveries showed a detective piecing together a complex puzzle, each piece revealing a new facet of Tesson's character. He was a cunning manipulator who had orchestrated his own disappearance to escape justice and perhaps even to start a new life with a new identity. The image of a man changing his appearance suggested a transformation, a shedding of the old life for a new one. The detective, uncovering this new identity, realized the extent of Tesson's deception. But to prove his theory, Vidocq needed evidence. The files he searched through held the key, but it was the crucial piece of evidence in his hand that would make or break the case. It was a delicate balance, a race against time to uncover the truth. He needed to find the missing link that would connect Tesson to his own disappearance. The board, covered in dots and lines, represented the web of connections that Vidocq was trying to untangle. The map, with its marked locations, showed the progress of the investigation, each step bringing him closer to the truth.